Okay, so if you've ever bothered to take a peek at my most viewed videos, you notice these two pretty high up, and I just happen to need 2 more videos to wrap up Season 11, so let's do another one of these, but for TTYDs and SPM spits. So before starting TTYD spit, you're gonna want to make some preparations. It goes without saying really that you should have all your partners upgraded twice, but Mario stats are a bit of a different story. Most first time players prioritize HP, so if you're watching this video I can only assume that you haven't beaten the pit before. I did it with 60 health, 45 FP and 30 BP, but I definitely advise you get more badge power and less health. It depends a lot on the playstyle, but BP is simply more versatile compared to the rest, and you can always just buy HP and FP pluses if you really want to. Another thing I'd recommend is getting to level 50 first, then quitting out. You get the Strange Sack there, which increases your inventory space permanently. After that, leave the pit to stock up on all the items you might need. Most of those are going to be Ultra Mushrooms and Jam and Jellies, but a couple Boo Sheets and Life Shrooms would also be really helpful to have. The amount of each item is really up to preference and playstyle, but I recommend 5 Ultra Mushes, 5 Jellies, 3 Boo Sheets, and 3 Life Shrooms. The other 4 item slots could be whatever you want, be it damaging items like Shooting Stars, maybe some Power Punches, some cooked stuff, whatever you really want. Now, TTYD Spit is a lot more about resourcefulness and planning rather than actual hard fights. Outside of the odd couple rooms here and there, nothing before level 70 should give you many issues, so try to use as little FP and items as possible for the most part. I know it's gonna seem really slow, but it's better to fight the weak enemies on the lower levels using only jumps, hammers, and free partner moves, as it saves you a lot of FP for more powerful enemies later down the line. The bit of damage you do take from fighting them this way is often dropped by the enemy after the fight anyway, so that's not much of a worry either. Another thing I'd advise doing is taking any movers you might come across. They're only there to help make your journey a bit easier, so make sure you have enough money to have them move you as far as possible each time. Only avoid them if you have an unclaimed chest you'd skip past. Besides that, take advantage of those guys as much as you can. For the harder fights, try to have Bobby and Vivian out for only their big AoE attacks and then switch them back in at the end of their turn. Bob-Bombast and Fiery Jinx are some of your best assets for hard regular fights, and we absolutely do not want either of them dying during such a fight. Level 91, for example, is 5 of the strongest type of wizard in the game, and it's absolutely imperative you spam the shit out of big AoE moves there, because otherwise you're almost certainly going to waste an Ultra Shroom. Same goes with a lot of the later floors that have a ton of enemies too. Stuff like the powerful version of the Great Tree enemies, or really specifically Winged Spite Buzzy Beetles. Enemies like these are really hard to take down without old board affecting AoEs, so try to conserve them for fights like these and then use them when appropriate. One last thing before Bonetail, you want to be using Sweet Feast and refilling your star power bar as much as you can. Sweet Feast is easily the most important special you have access to, so you should always have at least 4 star power lying around to use whenever necessary. Okay, now for Bonetail, she's really just a combination of Gloomtail from Chapter 8 and 64's Final Bowser. I say this because it has this healing ability of 64's Final Bowser, but it can only really use it a couple of times, so you just gotta stall him out. As long as you've got your items largely intact, this shouldn't be too difficult of a fight. It's one of the hardest bosses in TTYD, but you also get a ton of XP from late floor enemies, so by the time you reach Bonetail, you should be at least 4 levels more powerful than when you started. The swapping partners out shtick I talked about with Big V and Bobbery earlier is super important here as well, except now with Koops because Shell Slam ignores defense. If you play the fight well, the victory should be in the bag. Now, let's talk about Super Spits a bit. SPM Spits are way easier than TTYDs for the most part, so I won't be talking as much here. Your entire inventory for both the flip side and flop side spits should be just Ultra Mushes and Life Shrooms. How many of each is up to you, but I say 3 Life Shrooms is enough. The rest should be Ultra Shrooms. For the pits themselves, you're going to want to use the Bowser and Carry combo for most rooms, as it's easily the most powerful combo in the game. The one big tip I can give for Super Spits is using Dottie on the rooms with a lot of projectile throwing enemies and homing enemies. Stuff like Magic Koopas or the Hellfish are easily countered by Dottie, which is amazing because they can chip you down the easiest. Outside of that, the biggest thing with SPM Spits is really just being careful. Enemies don't drop HP anymore like in TTYD, so you really gotta pay attention to your numbers. Ragtail and Shadow are really easy final floor bosses, so they're not much of a worry, but all it takes is a couple of really bad floors and you're back at the start if you aren't careful enough. So take each floor slowly and you should be good as long as you have enough resources going in. For optional partners, I'd say Barry because he's really easy to get and can also help a lot, and Piccolo on the off chance you might need to cure her status. I know she takes a while to get, but it's better to have her than not. Alright, that just about covers the flip side and flop side pits as well, so that's really all. Hope this helped. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.